What if HISUIan TYPHLOSION was in Gen 1 OU? Now, I had a lot of debate on whether I should use regular TYPHLOSION or HISUIan, and there was a lot of back and forth, but I decided that ultimately, HISUIan TYPHLOSION is just better. It's more interesting, better chance of being good, and most importantly, it's not just a copy and paste of Charizard, which is really hard for me to say because I love TYPHLOSION. My first ever main one game was Heart Gold, so Cyndaquil is my starter. Really attached to the guy, but yeah, no, I need to do what was best for the video. Not to mention, well, Flowgator and Meganium have some unique tools that are good exclusively for Gen 1. The only thing TYPHLOSION had would have been just Fire Spin, which is good, but there's so many other fire types that have it. So let's give this guy the ghost typing. That can actually make him pretty unique. But speaking of which, that's gonna be this guy's main niche. The fact he is a ghost type that is not weak to psychic. Still weak to ground, which is really unfortunate. But because of your moves, and because you're, a fire type with Fire Blast, and also your signature move, you have a chance of burning, which means that Earthquake won't be as bad for you as it would be for Gengar. It's still a major problem, and it's going to be the main thing you'll be weak to, outside of, I guess, like Surf from like Starmie or something. But it's manageable, which is more than I can say for other fire types that wish they could be good in Gen 1 OU. Now, since unlike regular TYPHLOSION, this dude actually has some unique stats from Charizard, I will say though that I guess for the most part they are similar. The only real difference is just took a little bit of speed and added special attack, right? If that's the case, luckily, I would say TYPHLOSION's speed is good enough, which I know sounds crazy. Earlier today, with the Meganium video, I was like, yeah, I think anything faster than base 70 is fast. And yes, TYPHLOSION is fast. 95 is pretty good. But I say good enough because it allows it to speed tie with Jinx, which is good because Jinx could be a big problem if you weren't. And I do think with you having a speed tie, it means that Jinx probably isn't going to risk it. And well, for normally, I think any Pokemon faster than 70 is fast. If you're a fire type, I feel like you need to be at least faster than Jinx in order to actually have a chance in OU. Because being slower than the things you're supposed to be super effective to, only for them to put you to sleep, no one's surprised, would make you incredibly ineffective. But luckily TYPHLOSION doesn't have to worry about that. And with the base 119 special attack, yeah, there's no doubt about it, he's going to do a lot of damage to Jinx. Outside of that, the stats are, I guess, alright by Gen 1 standards, but he is still pretty frail. So, for a lot of physical attackers, he kind of needs to get a burn off, which is interesting, because normally you don't really think about burns as being good in Gen 1, and for the most part they're not, but at least for TYPHLOSION here, he kind of needs them. Not just to help survive against any strong physical attackers, but because his signature move actually does double damage if the Pokemon has status, which is interesting to think about. Speaking of which, let's go over HISUIan TYPHLOSION's moves. And believe it or not, he does have a lot of options. We're not giving him Eruption. I know somebody suggested that, and I can kind of see it, but it's technically not a signature move. And in execution, if we're being really honest, it wouldn't really change much. There's no Choice Scarf in Gen 1 OU, which means that he's always going to be faster than Starmie or Tauros. Taking a lot of super effective hits like that would make it useless. And anything that is faster, like, okay, he gets an Oko on Executor. That's like the only relevant thing it really does. Everything else does do slightly more damage, but probably doesn't KO at full HP. But luckily he still has other good moves regardless. Like Body Slam, Double Edge, Earthquake. Fire Blast is easily going to be his main move. Like, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Now, Infernal Parade, his signature, it's a ghost move, so it's going to be physical, which isn't really the best, but luckily its statuses or effects are really good. 30% chance to burn, just like with Fire Blast, and also does double power if the target is statused. And keep in mind, this is Gen 1 OU. Things are getting status all the time. If they're not getting burnt, they're getting put to sleep, or they're being like paralyzed or frozen. And yes, there's a lot of stuff in Gen 1 OU that is immune to like Ghost. Obviously normal, but because of the glitch, Psychic's also immune. But the stuff that it is good against is like it's honestly sort of like a game changer. Like for example, against Rhydon. Like, Rhydon resists, Fire Blast, but I imagine it would still do a decent amount of damage. But having a, 120 Ghost move is... It can, I've already done some of the calcs, and on, let's say, Annihilate's Rage Fist, it still programs, perfectly in Gen 1 custom games. So 120 base power physical Ghost move is not the worst thing in the world. But I think it's more important just to get a 30% burn on Rhydon. That way Earthquake doesn't just immediately bring in the red health. And while Fire Blast can do the same, and if anything it might do more damage since it's hitting Rhydon's special side. It also has a 16% chance to miss because it's Gen 1. And you really don't want to risk that. Granted, you're probably not going to be in that position anyways, but I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments if you think it would be used or not. I think it's worth considering. But luckily, he has a lot of other options regardless. He has Low Kick, which I think is only real useful on Chansey and only Chansey. Maybe Amnesia Wax. But it's just, Nightshade's good, which is good consistent damage on pretty much everything. Granted, I think Typhlosion can already do a lot of damage anyways, but having consistent damage like this is really nice. Quick Attack is useless, Rest is useless since he's really frail. Rock Slide, I guess you have it for Zapdos, but I feel like this Fire Blast and Infernal Parade, it already does a good enough job. And outside of Zapdos, you're not really using Rock Slide for anything. Maybe you can use it as a... Or, no, I forgot you also have Earthquake, so that's probably your best physical move against Chansey. So, yeah, probably not worth it. Thunder Punch, on the other hand, absolutely worth it. Giving you a good move against the water types is something that so many other fire types wish they had so badly. Now, granted, against any like Cloyster, Fire Blast actually does more damage, but on the other hand, Thunder Punch is way more consistent. And it's also good for Pokemon like Slowbro, where it's like your only real way of actually hurting it. Outside of that, there's Confuse Ray, but probably not worth it. Fire Spin, on the other hand, absolutely. Also has Hyper Beam, but I just don't think this attack's good enough to where you really want to risk using it. But Fire Spin, admittedly I forgot it for some of the first few replays, so some of those might be a little different, but either way, a really good trapping move. Since Typhlosion is pretty fast, even for Pokemon like let's say Rhydon, even if you don't want to try to burn it, it's still good just to trap it and then you get a free switch in. It also allows you to put Pokemon like Executor into kill range with Fire Blast, so really good. And I would say it's a mainstay, but at least with the first few replays I did, you did fine without it. So if you really don't want to use it because you're really scared of its accuracy, you can go for something else. No problem. This is what I personally like. Although replacing Infernal Parade with either Body Slam, that way you have another move that has a good chance of statusing, or just Earthquake for just good consistent physical move, or Nightshade for just consistent damage in general. You have options, which is really nice. A lot of Pokemon in Gen 1 can't really say that. And all of this, along with you having a really robust defensive type in Ghost, not so much Fire, But being immune to the normal type moves, like Body Slam and Explosion, is huge. And I don't think anyone's going to deny that. But also, just having the Ghost type isn't enough to automatically become good in OU. Because you need to be a Ghost type that can not only, absorb, normal moves, but also be able to take on and threaten normal types too. Can HISUIAN TYPHLOSION do that? Only one way to find out. As always, we start with the boy himself, Tauros. That is Snorlax. Did I forget the... No, I did recording with Tauros. I guess I clicked on the wrong link. I guess we're starting with Snorlax first. Obviously, with a burn against physical Snorlax, who already can't use most of his moves, you do great. No, Snorlax probably doesn't risk it in the first place, because you're just faster. And since I'm going to assume that I didn't actually click on the Tauros link... Yeah. Basically for that one, it just had Tauros using Earthquake. It did like a little bit more than half of Typhlosion's health, but Fire Blast managed to burn Tauros, and when it was burned, it only did like a fourth, so Typhlosion was able to kill it. So it's basically the exact same thing you saw with Snorlax here, where it can do a good amount of damage, but once it gets burnt, it just can't do that much anymore. Now with Snorlax, Typhlosion might be able to go for it. Tauros might not really want to, unless like the ice types and grass types are dead, and you just don't have much of a need for Typhlosion anymore. But it's a matchup where neither one of them can really risk it. So for both Snorlax and Tauros, it's critical either way. And then with Chansey, I tried using Low Kick, and it got a crit, and a crit did just half health, which is nice. But that's like the only good thing Typhlosion can really do. I guess it could have trapped Chansey with a Fire Spin, but it's not, they can't really hurt Chansey at all. Like, I didn't have Earthquake on the set, but that wouldn't have done that much damage either. Once Chansey paralyzes Typhlosion, it essentially becomes useless. And any move Typhlosion tries to do, Chansey can just heal it off easily. So it's just a bad matchup. Maybe even unwinnable, but I'm not entirely sure. Because as long as it's not paralyzed and Typhlosion gets some crits, it can obviously threaten Chansey, but yeah, could be better. And then with Alakazam, it can paralyze Typhlosion and do... I actually would have expected it to do more with Psychic. Good thing it didn't. And with Body Slam exactly, it can paralyze Alakazam, and once that happens, it can actually threaten to kill it. But that is like its only way of actually winning the Alakazam matchup. Because burning it simply won't do, you need to paralyze it. So yeah, you need exactly one move to beat Alakazam, and even then, it's only with 30% chance. I'm still gonna be generous and put this in critical either way, but it's really bad. Like, really bad, if you really think about it. And then with Cloyster, like, if you get a crit, obviously it's going to do a lot. And with this matchup, it really just depends on Clamp luck, because Surf isn't enough to OHKO you. So it really just depends on how many Clamps you get. Because you can get enough Clamps to where you can just basically one-shot Typhlosion. But on the other hand, if you get, like, let's say just one or two, Typhlosion can easily just revenge kill you. And Thunder Punch not doing half is really unfortunate. You probably are just kind of to, like, bite the bullet and just go for Fire Blast, even though it might miss. Or just first go for one Thunder Punch, and then go for a Fire Blast. Because Cloyster can very easily kill you. And I don't even know which one of them has a better matchup. I honestly think that it's probably just 50-50, could go either way. It just depends on luck, which one of them actually wins. And with here, this is actually the replay where I remembered that Fire Blast, or Fire Spin existed. So, luckily Typhlosion did pretty good here, but just know that Fire Spin just puts Exeggutor in a very easy damage range. So Typhlosion takes the matchup really, really easily. Which is good, because Eggy can sometimes be annoying. And then with Gengar, this is another reason why I think using Infernal Parade is, it could be worth it. Because having a good physical move against Gengar is pretty nice. Now, I guess you do have Earthquake, but The fact that you have a good physical move that does at least have to Typhlosion or Gengar, while also having the benefit of burning Rhydon, because that's the main reason you want to use it. Like, I don't even think Infernal Parade being a physical ghost move doesn't even mean much, because in some ways I just view it more just using a crappier Will-O-Wisp, or less crappy because it does some damage, can hit Gengar hard, and also doesn't have a 15% chance to miss. Pretty sure in older gens it's actually a 25% chance to miss. I don't know. I might just be grasping at straws here. You can let me know in the comments if you think it's worth it or not. But at the very least, the Gengar matchups could go either way, because that's just how Hypnosis is. Sometimes it misses. And then Jolteon can pretty easily threaten Typhlosion with a crit, but also Earthquake is a 2-hit KO. So it could go either way. Both now can like take each other out very quickly. But I just don't see these two just ever interacting. They both have like very different things to do, you know? Like Jolteon wants to, outspeed and wall Zapdos. Typhlosion wants to just nuke everything with Fire Blast. And speaking of which, like I said before, they have a speed tie, but there's no way in hell Jinx is going to risk it. You're not going to risk your lead Pokemon on a 50-50. Which, would Typhlosion be a good lead Pokemon? Like, it's really good against Jinx, but against Starmie, not so much. And then Gengar, it's good go either way. So I don't really know. I can sort of see it. And then with Rhydon here, Fire Spin is good for trapping, and also potentially getting consistent damage on once you actually burn it. But once it actually is burned, you no longer get put in the red. It's like a 2-hit KO basically, or probably 2-hit KO depending on the damage range, but more likely just a 3-hit KO. And yes, that like the damage there with Infernal Parade was boosted. And I would say for a physical move with a Pokemon with 78 attack, almost turning 30 is, I don't think that's that bad. And considering every turn you're also getting burn chip damage in, potentially Fire Spin chip, it actually adds up to where you might be able to win a 1v1. Like, I'll show you this for example. Like, here's another one, right? Starting with the Infernal Parade, it burns. You see there, it only does 13%. And Earthquake only does 44, which is even better. Missing Fire Spin is kind of cringe though, which is very sad. But, especially with crits, and a crit there, like with Fire Spin, is sort of a miracle. But you can actually get a decent amount of damage in, which is not something I was expecting from this video. So as long as you get the burn off, it's actually possible to where you can potentially beat Rhydon 1v1 with enough Fire Spin luck. Do I think you should risk it? No, absolutely not, but you have to, or if you have like no better switch-ins in, at least know that like you're not like defenseless. I think that's good to know. And then with Slowbro, you're faster, but your electric move is not stab, so it's a weird matchup. You do decent damage, and obviously with a crit, you just auto win. So I think I want to put this in a bad matchup though, because yes, it looked pretty good here, but I just don't see you really risking it. But then again, Slowbro only really comes out when it's least convenient, so maybe you force yourself to like try to like win the matchup. I don't know. Good chance that even just one surface enough to KO Typhlosion. I don't know. I can definitely see it being possible. But let's just get on to the next replay, shall we? Typhlosion versus Starmie. Surf does a lot of damage. Thunder Punch, not so much. It's just a really unwinnable matchup. Even without Surf, and let's say they're using Psychic, Blizzard, or Thunderbolt, it can just paralyze you and recover spam. So Starmie is truly unwinnable, at least in my opinion. Obviously with crit luck, you can like technically win it, but don't rely on it. And last but not least, we got Zapdos. I'm not sure if paralyzing Typhlosion was the right move here. Maybe it's going for straight damage. But getting a lot of damage in with Fire Blast, that was like a 3-hit KO. And it looks like Thunderbolt's also a 3-hit KO. So it could go either way. If Runner Barat there, as you saw, did a lot of damage with a crit. So, granted, a crit with Fire Blast also would have killed Zapdos there. But it also was consistent. So, I don't know. You guys, I still think it can be a good move. I know I've been repeating that. But I think it's just because it's almost like a gambling problem with me. I just really like it when, like, moves have a chance of status. Well, enough about that. Here's the list. Some of these can change. Like, Alakazam might need to be in bad matchup and Chansey and unwinnable. But for the most part, there's way too many Pokemon. It could go either way. Oh well. It's still pretty good though. Would Typhlosion be OU? I'm not sure. Because he definitely has his problems. But also, he wouldn't do good in underuse. But he might be a little too good in never use with that ghost typing. I'm gonna say either the weakest Pokemon in OU or borderline. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments. And tell me what you think about Flowgator. Because obviously this is like a part 2 in a 3-part series, all being uploaded on the same day as a celebration for 500 subscribers. So Flowgator's the last starter I have left, which I will probably upload in like 6 hours or something. Because the YouTube algorithm is not kind when you upload multiple times a day. Which is sad. Makes me want to cry. But yeah, what do you think? Would Typhlosion be good? Should I have gone with regular Typhlosion? And while we're at it, tell me what you think HISUIAN Typhlosion would be, as well as regular Typhlosion. Like in terms of like Gen 1 OU viability. That's pretty much all I have to say. I'll see you guys later. So until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.